The Hall of Famer, the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas, working with Varilux. We'll get to that in 1 second. But Frank, I want you to set the White Sox rotation for the playoffs right now. Let's assume they're playing the Houston Astros. And, hey, it's game one. Who's the Big Hurt going with?
Well, it comes down to who's healthy and who pitches well for the last week because, I'm worried about Lance Lynn's back. He's tweaking a little back in Cleveland the other day. He would be the number one with the season he's had. But if he's not healthy, I would look at either Giolito or Dylan Cease as the number one. Dylan Cease, for me, is a young Justin Verlander. Once he figures out when to use his changeup, everything else is going to be so much better because he has a dominant fastball and curveball. So they have options. And with one of the best bullpens in baseball, I'm not concerned with their pitching. I'm worried about the hitting being consistent in the October ride.
Are those the three that you would use, or are you still holding out hope that Rodon can get there?
I think Rodon at this point, he might be a little taxed. He's been a little sore. Watch this guy deal all season long. He's a max effort guy, hard fastball, hard slider, and he's pitched more innings than he ever have in the big league. So if he's healthy, if we can get him out there for 4+, I'm happy with that and use him accordingly. But you don't want to blow him out for the future.
Yeah, and there's been some concerns, at least nationally, about how Tony La Russa is going to fare in the postseason, especially in this era. I know that you're a big fan of his, but what do you think about that?
I don't worry about proven winners. He's been there, done that with 3 organizations, basically. It's one of those things that Tony knows how to win. And he got a lot of naysayers earlier this season. By All-Star break, no one was talking at all about Tony La Russa because one thing about him, he knows how to win baseball games. And he's one heck of a leader. And you see his teammate, it's this team, they all rally around him and they love him inside that clubhouse. So not worried about Tony La Russa. I think he is the man that got this team to the next championship.
Frank, do you look at the White Sox like they're an underdog?
They better think they're underdogs because you don't want to be the hunted. I think the Dodgers got to be the hunted if you look at it. They have an all-star team, all-stars at every position, one of the better staffs in all of baseball consistently. Adding Max Scherzer really helped. So Dodgers got to be I think the front runners got to be the Dodgers, and everyone else is right there under them.
Yeah, and their first round, they're going to end up probably playing the Astros. And obviously, La Russa is going to end up going up against Dusty Baker. How do you view that matchup?
It's a great matchup. 2 great managers. Houston still has a lot to prove, with all the cheating rumors and everything else. They want to show people they can win without cheating, and I'm sure they have a veteran guys that have been there, done that. They will be relaxed in October. So the White Sox going to have a hell of a first round beating the Houston Astros because that's going to be a tough task, and especially if they don't have the home field advantage.
Do you think they beat them?
It comes down to pitching in October. I think we have enough pitching. In the past, you look at Garrett Cole and Verlander leading their rotation. They don't have that right now, but they do have some young, gritty pitchers that have been getting the job done. So but when you talk about dominant starters, it's not the same anymore. So I look at the White Sox with the dominant starters and the dominant bullpen, finding a way to win 4 out of 7.
Tony and Dusty went at it back in the day when Dusty was managing the Cubs, when Tony was in the Cardinals dugout. That was a famous moment. They don't like each other, Frank. Does that factor into the series?
That's great for national TV. So, both teams will be fired up and it'll be a great series. Both of them are proven winners, and I'd like to watch them compete because they know how to win and they've won consistently their entire careers.
So let me ask you about a little national stuff here. Shohei Ohtani, is he your MVP, by the way, before I go into his comments over the weekend?
That's a loaded question. He was for the first 4 months of the season. But now you look at what Salvi Perez has done as a catcher. People don't understand. That's the most demanding position in all of baseball. Catch 120 games and hit 46 home runs and 115 RBIs is unheard of. So Vlad Guerrero, another kid who could win it. Wouldn't surprise me if he won it because he's been pacing the Triple Crown all year long. So let's just see how it works out. I really believe that it's going to come down. If Vlad has a big week this week against the Yankees and the Orioles, he could walk away with a very close decision because you got 3 guys that might share some of those first place votes now.
Yeah, and going back to the White Sox for a second, you mentioned their pitching staff and their bullpen. But for them, who do you think is their X factor?
I would say Michael Kopech. If Michael Kopech, he might pull a start. Who knows? They started another day. He looked very good. So he has dominant stuff. He has miss stuff, plus everything. he could be that X factor in the playoffs and get you 2 straight, scoreless innings, or you can start him in a spot start if some of the key components of the starting staff is not healthy.
Would you start him? Your partner is going to have a heart attack. Ozzie Guillen on TV. You want him 1 inning, and that's a bold move at this point.
He's a starter. He's a natural starter. He adjusted to the bullpen. He did well, but he's going to be back starting real soon. He's not going to be in the bullpen forever. And when you got a guy who has missed stuff, just like Dylan Cease, that's a heck of a 1-2 combination in the future as starters.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much you've watched the St. Louis Cardinals, but I'm assuming you've seen what they've done, winning 16 in a row. What's been your impressions there? What do you think has gone into that?
It's been amazing. But the Cardinals always seem to find a way to get to the playoffs. I'm not surprised at them, but you sit there and you go, if you win 16, 17 in a row, you know what's next, a long losing streak. So hopefully they don't win out the rest of the season and get to the playoffs and lose, after having a couple of days off, lose 4 or 5 baseball games. It could happen quickly.
What was the longest winning streak that you were part of? Do you remember?
I think around 13, 14 games.
Oh, man.
And what follows that? 4 or 5 game losing streak. And it just happens. Yeah. It's like you're on top of that tree and then you fall off. And it's like, I don't know what happened. You just need to recover a little bit. So hopefully that doesn't happen to the Cardinals. But, man, you don't want to win 20 straight games and then go into the playoffs and then have a few days off. And that's what could happen when you go to playoffs.
So the Big Hurt does not believe in playoff momentum or end of regular season get hot.
Of course I do. Of course I do. I totally believe in that. But they fought so hard to get to the playoffs. And when you get there, it took a lot of energy to get there. So let's just see what they have left in October because it's a totally different season.
Yeah, because they're going to exert all that energy, and all of a sudden they might have a first-round wild card matchup against the Dodgers, having Wainwright and then Scherzer. That's brutal.
Exactly. They're still dangerous, but when you face up against the Dodgers, watch out. You get Scherzer and Walker Buehler and the other kid, Arias, back to back to back. That can be a long week.
Yeah. So he has so many ways to beat you. That's absolutely just absurd.
Yes.
Frank, I was a little caught off guard by Shohei Ohtani, who, gets props as being just a great guy, and I'm sure he is. But here he is saying that, hey, I want to win, and so I'm not sure if I want to stay with the Angels. You were a guy who wanted to play your entire career with the White Sox. What's your reaction to a great player wondering if the grass is greener?
Well, the grass is always greener if you play in New York City. I mean, just think how big he would be in New York City right now. So this guy's incredible talent. Of course he wants to win. He's always won in Japan. So the Angels are going to do everything possible to bring him a winning squad. You saw him in the draft this year. They drafted all pitchers, and that's the only thing they're missing in that team is pitching. So once they're healthy with Mike Trout and the rest of that game, they're going to be fine. Rendon didn't even play this year. He has a monster contract. They need him to come back and play like he did for the Nationals. So if they finally get some pitching, the Angels are going to win a lot of baseball games.
Yeah. So when he becomes a free agent in 2023, what do you think that eventual contract could look like? Because I don't think we've ever seen a player just like him at all.
It depends. You got to back it up. I mean, a lot of guys have been one-year wonders. You got to back that thing up and show that consistency before you talk about a long-term deal for that kind of money. And I'm sure he will because he's been that type of player his whole life. But yeah, it could be, $400 or $500 million easily.
So, Frank, who you got coming out of the American League? Who faces the Dodgers?
I've said it all year long, and I'm not going to back up since they're playing poorly the second half. I'm going to say the Chicago White Sox. I think they match up very similar with superstar rotations and bullpens. I think the White Sox has the bullpen edge. I think the Dodgers might have the starting edge. But you look at the lineups of just great, exciting hitters and players all over the diamond. That would be a fun World Series.
And you think Tony's been holding back some wrinkles, right?
Of course he has. He's been setting his team up all over September, resting guys in the right spots. Because once they hit the gate in October, he don't want any excuses from these guys, worn down or tired or sore. They got to hit the ground running in October.
Frank, as you're laying back there, I see the glasses on, seeing clearly.
Yes.
Tell me about Varilux.
Varilux, the world's number one progressive lenses, and they made a big difference for me. When I played the game, I'll tell you guys, I was, 2010. I saw everything, so I could see the seams out of the pitcher's hand. Most guys couldn't see that. But once I retired, like 45, you get to those menus, they start to look like you can't see, everything is blurred. You get to the text messages and all the apps. I knew something was wrong. So I went to my local eye care provider, and he told me I had presbyopia. And I'm like, what is that? Because I thought it was something very serious. But he said it's aging old eyes. And that's a condition that happens to most people after the age of 40. So I lasted to 45. But I suggest everyone go out and take care of their eyesight and get to their eye care provider and get checked up, because you can find us at Varilux.com, and it really makes huge changes. I have progressive lenses now. I can see out and I can see down with my text messages and menus and everything else. So it's been a great move, and it's really helped my eyesight.
Big Hurt gets 300 at bats with those glasses on. How many bombs we hitting?
I'll be honest. I wish I'd have had him at the age of 40, because I started fouling off balls, and I'm like, how in the hell am I missing? So I didn't know that my eyes were going bad. So now who knows? I'll probably get up there and take some swing, but who's going to run for me?